Okay, so we're here at the home of Dee Hilbert. She's running for City Council at large this year in Rochester Hills. So I just want to ask you, Dee, why you decided to get involved and run for City Council this year.
Well, I've been involved in local issues for a long time. I've been in a group called Citizens Voice Rochester Hills for 10 years, a local group that got involved in issues in our area, and we end up broadening to cover other issues in the community through the years. And we work to kind of engage and educate the community on what's happening. I've been involved in various committees through the city. I've attended council meetings for many years. Almost every issue in the city I've worked to be involved and be knowledgeable about and inform the rest is via email, the rest of the community, what's happening in our community. My husband and our children are grown, and I just thought it's time to give it a try. So I'm ready to give it a try and serve my community if they choose to elect me.
Okay, and I know this year we've had quite a few issues in Rochester Hills. Most notably, I guess, was the water reservoir issue, which got to be a pretty big public issue here in Rochester Hills. I know you were involved and you gave a lot of public comments on that. What do you think the city could have done better in that whole issue to involve the community and maybe make them better informed, and so that might have had a better, less divisive outcome, I guess?
Well, unfortunately, in the water reservoir issue and other issues such as Tinkin Road, Washington Road, the M59 barrier, I think the community is very poorly informed by our local government and what's happening. And part of that is there's a lack of media in the community to inform people, but I don't think people are very understanding of what's happening in their local government, and I think our local government needs to do more to engage and inform our community. And I think it's sad that it gets to a point where people have to yell and scream and organize in order to get heard.
So along that line, what would you do differently? If you were on the city council going forward, at the end of the year, the election's in November, what would you recommend that the city do to better inform its citizens about issues that come up, such as the water reservoir and some of the other issues that have come up in the recent past?
Well, I think it's important when it's a big issue that, like, the homeowners associations are notified of issues that might affect their part of the community. I think all issues, where it's a large dollar item or it's property or development, that the community has to be notified and have an ability to ask questions and have questions answered in a respectful manner, and that a decision that goes forth for the community is made by the community. It's just not by a few people. I will continue to work to engage people through Citizens Voice. We have an email list if anybody wants to join. It's cvrh.info, and you can sign up, and we will inform you on things that we think are important that the community know about. If I'm on the council, I think it's important that we have more transparency in our government. There's a lot of issues I feel that are not easily understood by the community, and I would work towards greater transparency, especially in the budget. I think it's important. I think that's difficult to understand, and I think there's got to be an easier way to make it clear to the community, what the bottom line is, as far as our funds and our fund balances and what's going in and our costs.
Because we have some new issues coming up. We've got the Avon Road Bridge, the Livernois Bridge, and there's obviously some financing problems. I think that's going to be an issue going into going through the rest of this year, because it's going to be at least 2012, maybe 2013 before those bridges are replaced. Well, at least the Avon Bridge is funded. The Livernois Bridge isn't even funded yet. Do you think there's anything that the city or the mayor could be doing more, or do you think they're doing everything they can to get those issues resolved?
Well, it seems to me there was a lot of energy put into the water reservoirs last year, and maybe the priority should have been, it appears to me, maybe there had been more time and energy put into trying to solve the issue with the Avon Bridge and getting that fixed, because it's obviously the community, I hear, is upset about it, concerned about it, not happy about it. I hear people say that we have money for water reservoirs, but we don't have money to fix our roads. And I understand it's different pots of money, and there's a whole, but where you focus your energy and your time and your effort, I think it's important that our government focus on what the community sees as being important.
Is there anything in the budget that any priorities in the budget that you think the
The
city
big
ought
thing
to
to me
change?
is transparency, because years ago they used to have meetings at the city hall about the budget. You'd come in and they'd show you what the fund balance is. They had graphs. This is the money going in. This is the money going out. And that stopped. And it's just not real clear to me, exactly where we're sitting with the budget. And I think it needs to be clearer. And there's just got to be a better way.
Do you think there's too many, I don't know, I'll call it allegiances on the council? It seems like most of the votes are 5-2.
Yeah,
and
that's concerning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, yes.
Do you think you would be like more of an independent voice on the council?
Oh, absolutely. But I want what the community wants. I'm very supportive of, looking at something like Tinkin Road. It's an example, Tinkin Road, to go, I went to some of those meetings. I went to the city hall meetings. I talked to some of the people on the issue, and it all just made sense, and I don't even live near Tinkin Road, and I am supportive of keeping it, the beautiful quarter it is, and not make it a major thoroughfare. And that's what the community wanted. To me, I had the feeling overwhelmingly, and I support that.
Do you think the business interests in the area have too much influence over city council? Maybe either whether it's financial or whatever way, do you think they have too much influence over the council?
I'm not really sure on that. I think my experience, especially in my community, that developers and business interests had a huge influence on what happened, and the residents in the area were pretty much discounted. Their questions. And the wonderful thing about Rochester is we have very bright people, smart people. We have lawyers and accountants, and we have just the broad spectrum. And they're very intelligent people, and sometimes they're treated like they're not. And I think that's disrespectful to the community, not to listen to them, not to answer their questions, respectfully. Some of the council meetings have been very disappointing to me, the way the residents are treated, with some of the council treats the community, and that's got to stop.
I noticed, you can't help but notice when you go to a city council meeting that it's 7 men. Do you think it's important that maybe there'd be at least one woman on the council?
I know some people feel that way, and that's not why I would ask people to consider voting for me. I guess I would like to consider voting for me because I have been involved in the issues, local issues, been a part of the community for many, many years now, and that they feel that I would be the best person to represent them.
Okay, and you have a website.
I have a website.
So why don't you tell our readers the address of your website?
It's deehilbert.com, DeeHilbert.
Okay, and they can obviously read about some of your other things
learn
about you there.
Me. You can contact me if you have a question or concern. I'm glad to meet with people in the community and talk about what's on their minds. I would love to hear from them. The citizen's voice. I get feedback from people in emails, and I always appreciate it. And we don't always agree, but I think we all, the majority of us, want what's best for our community. I know people love our parks and love our green spaces, and unfortunately, that's come under assault. And I think people increasingly are realizing that, and we need to work to protect that because it's such an asset for our community.
That was before I was going to end the interview, but I wanted to ask one more question, because one thing that came up during the Reservoir issue was the fact that one of the properties that they were looking at was purchased with bond issue money that was specifically for parks, and yet our city attorney gave an opinion that once the bond is paid for, that the property can be used for pretty much anything the city wants it to be used for. Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts about that, and whether
I don't agree on that, because that's not what this community intended that park, their tax money to be used for, is to to help with a project or a developer or whatever. Several years ago, I was really upset because Riverbend Park, there's a consent judgment on the former landfill over there, which was allowing for a 3-acre detention basin on Riverbend Park, and I was appalled. I was just appalled, and I tried to get people to get excited about it, and a lot of people didn't understand it. There's not a lot of people around this, but people understand now, because the people in Nowicki Park, they were going to put the water reservoir there, and they got up in arms, and then, then the last location was going to be behind Adams High School. That's all bond property, Riverbend, Nowicki, and I forgot the name of that park in Adams. Anyways, the park property behind the Adams High School, that's all been purchased with bond property, and people were outraged, and rightfully so, because it should be for green space, it should be for recreation, it should be what we want it for. It's not, to put a infrastructure project or it's not, shouldn't be for, to me, like a developer or a business person to use, unless it comes to the voters. If somebody has a great thing, then bring it to the voters and let the community decide.
Do you think because of the water reservoir, we had the deer issue last couple of years ago, do you think local voters are going to be more interested in local elections this year versus other years?
Well, I have concerns because I don't think there's going to be anything on there to vote. But I'm hoping that people are kind of waking up and they're going to find out, they realize that, that sadly, I think the majority of the council has not been representing the community, and what we want, and that we need more people that are representative of Rochester Hills.
Are you willing, if a homeowner association wants you to come and speak to them, is that something you're interested in doing?
That. Yeah, I would love to do that. Please contact me. I'd like to meet with you.
Through your website, is that the best way to contact you?
Yes. Or my cell phone is 248-495-2541. So either way, I'll get back to you, and I'd love to meet with the community. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm planning when the weather gets nice to start walking door to door, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited about doing this. I feel very positive. I've got, I think 2011 is going to be a good year. So.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.